I'm Patrick Bailey with IQlist.com. Today is April 10th, 2022, and in this video I'm going to be recreating the Corgi crossing sign in OpenScad and showing how it all works. Okay, first a couple quick links. So I've already posted this, the file and all the information out there on Printables, which used to be Prusa printers, and I'll put a link in the show notes, but you can go there and download everything if you need to. Also, I've done a video before on this, kind of going over the details and how much it costs to print it out and a few little things on how to adjust it. And so if you need a simple video, that's a simple video. Now this video, we're going to go into detail on how to recreate this. So we're going to go from step one and go and recreate everything that we've ever done on this. So with that, let me get started. And I lost my placeholder. There we go, empty guy. Okay, so we're going to try to recreate everything from scratch and go step by step and explain what I did. So first of all, we'll go here and we'll copy that in, just some notes that I made it, and also the detail. I usually just kind of generically set it 200 is what I do, and that kind of sets how much detail is going to be. The less that number is, the more blocky. It'll render quicker, but not look as good. So if you have a problem with your system, you could bring that down to like 10 or 15 or 20. It'll render faster, and then bring it up to a higher number when you actually want to actually make the file. Okay, so with that, let's go. We'll start here. So I'm going to start here with the back sign here. So we'll call, let's see what I called it last time. Back sign, I literally called it back sign. Okay, module, back sign. And we'll just make that module, we'll put nothing in it. We'll just put let's put a square, let's put a cube in there just so something will render when we call it. So there's a cube. But now if we call it, nothing happens because this module is individual code and we haven't actually called it yet. So we'll come up here and we'll say back sign, and we'll call it, and boom, now we got a cube. Of course, not what we want. What we want to do is start to make that sign. And so what we're going to do with that, let's see. Okay, so we're going to pass in a size. So come up here and we'll have a size, and we'll say 170. That's the size I used before. And I'll give it some corner radiuses, and we'll say those are 15. And we'll come down here to the back sign, and we'll pass in a couple variable size, and corner radius. Okay, we'll make sure they're here too. Oh. About size, corner radius. Boom. Okay, so now what we're going to be doing with this, with the sign, is we want to make what do we do? We want to make these. We're going to use the holes again, so we'll just kind of do some 2D stuff with these holes, and then extrude it. So we'll come down here, we'll say a circle, and we want that radius, and it normally uses radius as default, so we'll say corner radius, and that should get us a little guy. There we go, boom. So now we're going to kind of use that to kind of smooth out. It's an easy way to round the edges. So we'll say that, and now, oh, I made a sign 2D. Oh, I see what I did. I'm looking at my old code. Because of what we want to do, we have the sign, but we actually want to make that its own little thing because we actually want to call that several times to make the entire back sign. And the entire back sign is going to include the sign and also the extrusion on the top that has a little kind of black border. And so we'll go through that. But first we'll break it out, but we'll start simple here. Okay. So what we have is we'll have a hull. Boom. Let's see. We said diameter. So we'll have a circle. Boom, boom. I don't know why I erased that. Corner radius. Okay, so let's make sure we got that back just fine. Okay, now we need to translate that. We're going to move this guy around. But where do we move it? We want to make that sign. And probably the easiest thing that I kind of figured out is we make a sign and then we rotate it. So we'll just kind of do a big giant square here. But when we do that square, we want to figure out our size. What did I do? I said distance equals sine times sine of 45 times the size. And then what I did is come down here and I just say, okay, I'm going to translate that. Boom, boom, boom. And we'll translate that D, 0, 0. Right? So now we should see this guy move. If I didn't do it right. Oh, how about a semicolon there? There we go. So now we see that guy moved. So now we want to do the next one. I want to do 4 in all. And so this one, we're kind of going over D. This one, we're going to go up D. Boom. And the next one, we're going to go minus D. And then, what to do? Up 0. And minus D is what I did before. Boom. And now we've got our sign kind of where we want. Here, right there. Boom. There we go. Okay. And then we're going to do a hole between all of them. Which is going to connect them all. Now in this case, I don't need to do sequential ones because I do want them all to connect correctly. And then boom, I got a sign. Hooray! But now I really want to complete the entire sign, which also includes a linear extrude and everything. But I also want to put this, well, best way to do is just to show it. So what I'll do is I actually want to break this out because I want to reuse this code. So I'm going to come down here, I'm going to call it, what do I call it? Sign 2D. And in sign 2D, we're going to pass in the size and, of course, the corner radius again. Radius, boom, boom, boom. Oh, got to make it a module. There we go. And then we'll just cut and paste all this in here. And then we come in here and we'll say sign 2D, size, corner radius. Boom, boom. Okay, so we end up getting the same thing. It'll become clear what I did that in a second. So now we're going to take this guy and we want to do a linear extrude. Well, okay, it's not going to become obvious in a minute. It'll take a few more steps because I want to reuse that code later on. Okay, linear extrude, and I'm going to say sign height, which I have not made that variable yet, have I? So come up here, we'll say sign height, and we'll say, it's like I said, 2, and I pass that in. Boom. So now I got an actual thickness, and if I want to make it thicker, I'll just exaggerate, make it 20, just so you can see it actually is doing what it needs to be doing. Okay, now the next thing I got to do is deal with, well, I'll do that at the back end. Now, so we got the back sign, there we go. Now the next thing I want to do is add in the border on the top. So I'll just call that, what do I call it? Black border. Black border, which is going to take in the size, the corner radius, and it's also going to take in, I'm going to call it SVG height. In the code, here's the thing, I kind of want to make this generic so that people could use it, so they could take their own images and slap them in there and do a few adjustments. So I probably shouldn't have used the word Corgi. So I had before I had like here, I had Corgi height. Bad idea to be generic, so I'll just say SVG height because we're going to bring that SVG in. And what did I say? Oh, I've made that 2 too. Okay. So now we'll make another module. We'll call it black border, and we'll bring all that stuff in. Right? Boom. And I'll run it right now. There's nothing in there, so nothing should occur. Okay, so now we're going to have to go to this black border. And what we're going to do, oh, another thing. Even though this kind of is yellow, I'd rather it be really yellow. So I'll come down here and say color yellow. Boom, boom. Okay, that gives me that. It doesn't translate, but it's nice for viewing, right? I kind of like doing those colors. So the thing here, I'll say color black, because this is going to be the top little black border thing I want to do. Okay, now here's the part where I get to reuse everything. So we're going to come down here on the black, and we're going to say, what are we going to say? Black border. Okay, so we're going to make that sign. So I'm going to copy that sign 2D. I'm going to put it right here. Now if it's the exact same sign, it's going to kind of be in the same, it's actually in the same literal location right now, which is not what we want to do. So we'll do a linear, because we want this to be on top. So we'll do a linear translate. Boom, 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 boom. And we'll call it, oh, and we didn't extrude it either, so we'll do a linear extrude too. Boom, boom. Okay, linear extrude. So what we're going to do is we're going to have SVG height. And I kind of like to make things stick into each other. So I'm going to make it just slightly thicker, and then I'll kind of move it down. So if I do that, it'll end up covering the yellow one. Boom. But now we'll move it. So we'll say linear extrude, and we'll say size. Let's see. I probably should make a sign height. Oh, I should have. Oh no, I passed that in. Okay. How about if I put a sign height? I actually did that in my code. I'm looking over here. I did it correctly before. Okay, sign height. And so we'll move up that guy. We'll say 0, 0, and do the sign height, which will push it up somewhere. Oh, I can't spell linear. Oh, why am I doing? It's translate. Translate, not linear translate. Boom, there we go. So now we should see we got a little sandwich here. In case, if I wanted to exaggerate it, we could make it 2020. And now you can see a little better. But what we want to do is right now, here's where I can use the modifiers. If I make the back sign a little clear, you can see if I go from a perfect side angle, it's not inside of it. But if I do it's actually probably better to do it the other way since that one is black. Well, I don't know which way is better. But now I'm going to do that sign height minus 0.1, and it'll go inside of it. But it is inside, but it's kind of probably hard to see. Okay, I got to move it. Let me move it slightly. And now if I go from an angle, boom. Oh, do 10 over here. Okay, that's hard to see. Let me move. Well, I don't need to beat that with a dead horse, but I'm slightly. I've lowered it just slightly, and now so they're meeting. So kind of hard to view that because they're perfectly in line. But that's not actually really what I want. I want that to be a little smaller, right? So what I'll do, let's see, what did I do with the back border? Okay. I did a translate, and I did a different, and I made it, I used the corner radius. Okay, so we have the size minus the corner radius. And I said, what, divided by 2. Oh, how about corner radius, not corner radius. There we go. So now we can see there's this one's slightly smaller. However, I still got a problem. It's covering everything, and I want to subtract it from itself. So what I'm going to do is I can do, what do I want to do here? Difference. I want to do a difference. Boom, boom. I want to make another sign. Within the sign, it's just going to be a little smaller. Boom. So I need to make this one slightly smaller, so I'll just, what did I do here? I just didn't divide by 2. Boom. And there we go. So we can see I'm basically making 2, one small and the other one, and it just subtracts from itself, and I get the desired result. And that way, if I want to change the corner radius to something bigger or something, it'll just automatically adjust, and there I go. So it's all based on the size. If I want to make this bigger, you know, I still get my border. So it's nice that I can you know, use the variables correctly, and there you go. Okay, so now I've got my border. Hooray. And you can see I've used this sign 2D 3 times now. So that's why I wanted to break that out so I could reuse it. Okay, now next, the Corgi. Well, before we add the SVG, let's go add some letters. So we'll come in here to our main thing here, and we'll say color black, boom, boom, boom. Okay, so now we're gonna do some words. So I made a module called words. So I'll say words, and we'll just start really simply. We'll just say the word Corgi. We're gonna change this, and we'll come down and we'll make a module called words. Doesn't matter where it is. I'll say module, words. And we'll call the first variable word. Boom. And I'll come down here and I'll do, well, let me copy this. And let me call it the font. Yeah, we'll pass in the word, and we'll also pass in a font. So we'll come up here and we'll make a variable called sign font, which is always fun. Now here's where you might get into a pickle. So what you want to do is you want to find out what fonts are available on your system. It's using your system font. So if you just copy the code I have, you might not have the font I have. Or you could download more fonts or whatever you want. So what you can do, what I often do is I'll go open up Word and try to find a font I like. Not all fonts are compatible with OpenScad. Keep that in mind. But once you find a font you think you like, you go up here to Help, you go to Font List, and then you go find that font. Like I'm using Arial. I'm using Arial Black. And you click on that and say Copy to Clipboard. Just hit it once, hit OK, and then come in here and do Control-V to paste that in. Now you've got a font. So there's the font you're going to use. There's a sign font. We're passing it in, right? Okay, so now we come down here, and I'll just, there's the variable called text. So I can come down here and say text. Now this text is not yet going to be 3-dimensional, and I'll just say, what am I going to say? I'll say the word. So there's the word I'm going to put in here that I passed in. And then I will say size equals, I'll just say 10 just for now. And then I will say the line, there's a line, vertical align equals center. We want everything to be centered. Just makes things easier usually. And then we'll say horizontal align equals center. Boom, boom. And then lastly, we will say font equals the sign font that we just passed in. And now if I run this, we probably won't see anything because it is probably hidden. Oh, need that to be a comma. Unnamed argument. Oh, we got to pass in the sign font, which we passed in, but we're not taking into account. Okay, so it's probably, see, it's underneath there. So we can't see it. So in this case, you know, if we wanted to, we'd come down here and say, you know what, we want to focus on this guy. I think that's the right guy. And boom, we see there's our Corgi. Yay. Okay, so there we go. So now what we're going to do, we do want to rotate that eventually, don't we? But not yet. Am I rotating it in there? I guess I'll find out. Okay, so we got our word. We pass it in, but we want to do some movements on it. So we got the text, and what we want to do is we want to translate it. Well, before we do that, let's go up here. What did I do? I came up here just to control all of them at the same time. Yes, that's what I did. I said, okay, I know I'm going to do multiple words. So I said linear extrude, and I said SVG height. I want it to be the same. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. But of course, it's just poking through. It's not really flush. I need to move it. So the next thing I'll do is I'll translate the whole thing. So I'll say translate, because I want to move it to the surface, right? And let's see, what did I do? We don't want to move it in the X or on the Y. I'm going to do sign height minus 0.1. And we come down here and we actually add back that 0.1. And there we go. Now we got the Corgi. Hooray. Perfect. Not quite in the right position that we want. So what we'll do is we do that. Oh, another thing we'll do is we'll pass in a font size. Because we want the font size. We want to be able to adjust it really quickly. And I decided to just kind of put it here because you might want to, even though we're going to have the Corgi and the crossing, they might... you might want different sizes based on whatever text font you're using. So we'll pass in that, and we'll come down here and we'll say font. We'll just call it font size. And rather than do that 10, we'll say font size. And now we should see it change to whatever size we want. Change to 32. Boom. Whatever makes the most sense. It looks like I have 22 written over here. Now the next thing is we want to be able to adjust it a little bit. So, and we'll just adjust it down here. So we'll come down here and make an adjustment. We'll pass in an X and a Y. And looking at what I did, looks like I had a 0 and a 65. But depending on what font you're using, you may want to change it. So there's that 065. And we'll come down here and we'll translate. Oh, we'll come down here and we'll say, what will I say? What will I say? I'll just call it position. Position. And we'll translate. Boom. You know, I think there might be another way to do this than the way I did it. But let me try. Let me try the way I know and see if another way will work. So here I can of course put the X, Y, and Z in, but I can do position, that's the variable I passed in, and get the first one. And if you're not a computer geek, the first one is always 0. 0th is the first one. That's just how we do things. And we'll just say the second position, which we say 1. And so there's our X and our Y, and we should not be happy with me. Why are you not happy? Oh, did I forget? I need to do a Z? No. Okay, let's do. Oh, I forgot to close the outer bracket, I think. And then, there we go. There we go. Took me a second. Okay, so that's worked. Position 1, position 2, and I think that may be the only way I can do it, but I just realized a couple of things. Well, another thing, you don't have to put in your Z. If you just have an X and a Y, that works. But also, I believe, I mean, I just passed a variable X and Y. I think I can just do that. Why not? There we go. Perfect. Boom. See, I learned a better way to do it. So since that's already, you know, an array of two things, an X and a Y, I can just call it like that. And okay, I already simplified my code, right? Okay, next thing we'll do the crossing portion. And we'll say Xing. And then, let's see, what did I say? Oop. It's not 65. Looks like I wrote negative. Well, I know what I wrote over here. But see, I can just start to adjust it. Start to move it. And I think I went negative 75. There we go. So now, The only thing we're missing is the Corgi, the SVG file. And that's going to take a few things. We'll come down here and we'll say, rather than what I did before, I called it Corgi, so I'll say SVG image. And any SVG image should work well. And I'll say where the file is. In this case, oh, you know what? I haven't saved this. You know what? This is not going to work correctly until I put it in the right location. So if I say Corgi SVG, Corgi.svg, that's the name of the file. If I try to run this, it's not going to work because, well, two reasons. I haven't saved this file yet. And if I haven't saved this file yet, the file doesn't know where it is relative to the Corgi file. Dot means a folder up, and then here's the Corgi. So I'm going to save this, and I will save it in the correct location. Then it will work. Watch. Let's see. And we'll say Corgi crossing. I'll just call this video test. Now if I do it, oh, and I lied. Okay, why aren't you working? Okay. Oh, you know what? I didn't put it one file up. I bet you I put it in the same location. No? Okay, that's strange then. That should be, oh. I'm being dumb. Just because I named the file doesn't mean it. I kind of messed up my example here. I didn't actually try to show the SVG. I need to show the SVG. Had I shown the SVG, it probably would have been confused. I didn't show the SVG. So I need to show the SVG, but had I not saved it, it wouldn't know where this file was to know to look for the SVG. So I kind of messed up that example. Sorry. My bad on that one. So now we'll say SVG image. Or I'll just call it SVG. Why not? Call it SVG. And then we'll make another module down here called SVG. And the first thing we'll do is we'll pass in the SVG image. Looks like I called image file. SVG image file. And we'll pass that guy in. And the first thing we'll do is we'll just import it. So if we have that file, all we got to do is import it. Oh, we probably want to make it black. And then where's my example? It should just be import. But I want to double check. Yeah, import. Okay. Now here's a thing where I didn't do it as well as I could have. I said import SVG image file. Now if I do that, everything is in this quadrant over here. So it kind of like puts the image right here, right here. However, we want to center things. So yeah, I can adjust it, and I may need to adjust things anyway. But one thing I did not do in my file that's a better way to do is to say center equals true. And now it's going to center it more closer to where I want it. So that's one thing I did not do correctly, in my opinion, in the code I did before. Okay, so now we've got that. So the next thing we'll do is we'll pass in the sign height again. Oh, yeah, the sign height. And then we'll pass in, let's see, the SVG height. And then we'll start with that. Sign height and SVG height. So we'll come down here and we'll say, okay, we're going to do a linear extrude. And we got to pass those variables in. So we'll say sign height SVG height. Okay, and then we'll say SVN height, and that should extrude that really thickly. Okay. But it shouldn't be that thick. Okay, SVG height. Did I put the barrel in wrong? Okay, much better. But of course now I'm, a little below. So I'll add that 0.1 because I'll make it a little thicker and then I'll pull it back, right? Just like I did before. And I'll do a translate. Boom, boom, boom. Boom. Okay, we'll translate it. And we'll do the X, Y, Z, and we'll say in the X, nothing, in the Y, nothing. In the Z, we'll do the sine height minus 0.1. Boom. So there we go. Now we're getting close. A couple more things we got to do is we need to scale this. So we want to do an SVN scale. Scale equals, we'll just make it 2. We'll double it just to show that that works too. Because you might have a small SVG. How about SVG? You might have a small SVG file and you need to scale it. Okay, so we'll say scale. And we'll pass that down here. Scale. Okay, we're getting close. So, need to scale. And down here, we'll just say there's a scale. Boom. So we'll say scale. And we'll say, what do we got? Oh, you know what? This might be another example where I can maybe do it a better way. So we'll try, let me try that, see if this works. If I just pass in that scale, will it apply it everywhere? It will. Okay. Now, you probably got to be careful about that. With an SVG file, it's flat, so it's probably not an issue. But if you don't have something flat, you have to scale it in the X, Y, and Z. So I think if you, so if they say scale 1, X, Y, and Z, boom, I think that will, see that scales me out twice that way, but 1 this way. So you can do some interesting things with scale. But also Z, there's nothing in the Z right now, so not a problem. So when I just do that, that should be the equivalence of doing this, which means it's going to scale every single way. But there's nothing in the Z to scale, so not a problem. So again, something I learned that's better than what I did before. So there we go. Sine height. Oh. Oh, there we go. I did that wrong. Looks like I typed something in wrong. Boom. Okay, better. Okay, so now we got the Corgi, but he should not be that big. Let me see what I scaled him down to. I scaled my guy down to 0.87. Boom, and he worked pretty good. But now you can see he's still not quite where he needs to be. So we'll do a little nudge. And so we'll say SVG adjust. And we'll make an X and Y. So what did I do? Well, here I messed up. I said 113. This is not going to work. I had 113 and -60, but I didn't center it before. So I have that SVN adjust. So that number is going to be out of whack, but we can make it work. So we have the SVN adjust, and then we can reuse our translate. So we can say SVN adjust 0. Well, you know what? Let's just be, we can translate a translate. Let me just do that because that's, I think it's a little simpler to read. I don't know. This is going to be a potato. I'll show you the difference. So you can see he's a little out of whack there. So we'll change him to 0 and change that one to 0 just see where he's at. Okay, he probably needs a little bit that way and a little bit up, huh? Well, not that much up. Boom. Okay, that's close enough for this test. So there we go, we got them pretty good. But to go over what I could have done, so here I'd translate, and that just makes it nice and simple to put it in there. Another way I could have done that, and I actually did in my other guy, is I said SVG adjust 0, 1. So the first place and the second place in the array, same potato, potato, right? I think I like doing it this way, which is not the way I did it before. So, boom. There you go. Now you got a Corgi sign. One more thing. One more thing. I forgot about the screw holes. Let me add the screw holes in. So another thing I did is I added a variable called screw holes, and I said it was true. And this you can set to true or false. So it depends on what you want to do. And then I'll pass that into the backsign variable. It says screw holes, whether or not you really want screw holes. Okay, so we come back down here to the backsign, and here we are on the backsign. Okay, so we have all that. Now, I have this old code for screw holes. I don't know if I'm going to go, how deeply do I want to go into it? I'll come down here and I'll just kind of copy and paste this. Screw holes are, this is from some old code I did before, and I kind of tweaked a little bit. That's why. Okay, too many unnamed arguments. There we go, now we're good. Okay, so I have a cylinder here. You can see he's kind of in the wrong spot. He's right there, but he's 2D. So we can actually go, let's see, we can negate that, right? Boom. And I can come down here and, well, I'll negate the Corgi. And I'll negate the Corgi. Boom. So we can see there's that guy right there. I really want to put a hole through there and make a difference. And then I'll make another thing. I'll translate. I'll say, now there's another cylinder that's a fatter cylinder. And another thing that we're using is this is a circle, a cylinder. But you can see it's coming out like a hexagon, because I'm saying here's the cylinder I want to make. Here's how big I want to make it. And then I'm using this FN6, which basically says make it 6-sided. That's the only number of facets I'm going to use. If I made it 8, it would do 8. If I made it 12, it would do 12, and it gets closer and closer approximating a circle. But I want to use 6 because I want the hexagon. So it's a way to cheat and kind of get the hexagon. So we got that. But this is also in the wrong location. And I do also want to, because I'm going to take this and subtract it, right? So here I'm going to translate this guy. I'm going to move him around. Nope. And we're going to move him to the very top here. So just some little signs and corner radius calculation. But that kind of gets it where I kind of want to be. And also it will adjust itself based on if I make a bigger sign or whatnot. But also, since I'm using screws, I always want this hole to be the same size no matter how big the sign is. So that's the adjustment. But now you can see I only have one. I want two. I want one at the top and one at the bottom, but in the exact mirrored location. So there's this mirror copy, which is a method I made, but I copied it from someone else, which is basically saying, hey, copy it over and use the x-axis as a way to copy it over. And we'll go down here. Here's this mirror down here, which is basically saying, hey, I'm going to mirror it, but I'm also going to keep it. If you normally mirror it, it'll just make the mirror and not keep the original. This one says keep the original. Boom. So there we go. And something got upset about something. Line 84. Oh, height. I need to do sign. Sign height. There we go. Line 83. Oh. Sign height. There we go. Now we're not upset. Okay, so there we go. Now I got both of those where I want them to be. And then now we can go back here and use this if statement. If the screw hole is true, make it. If not, don't. So it is true right now, so they're there. But if I go up here and say false, boom, they go away. Because maybe you don't want those holes, right? Okay, so we add them back. And what I'm going to do now is we have the screw holes, and we'll add the sign back, and we'll add the Corgi back. So now we're there, and you can kind of see they're just kind of popping through. But we want to delete them. So we'll say difference. And if you haven't used difference before, what it's going to do is it'll take the first thing, and then every subsequent thing after the first thing will subtract from the first thing. So in this case, the first thing is that sign, the yellow part, and then we actually have 2 cylinders here, but each thing will be deleted. So boom, and now I've got that. So I have that little recessed thing, and so now I got a hole. So boom, there we go. And I got everything I want. I think I didn't miss anything this time. But now, if I like that sign, but I don't want the hole, I just say false. Boom, because maybe you just want to, you don't want to use screw holes. There you go, easy peasy. You can change it. Boom. Now that I've got that, all we got to do is render it, which might take a little while, and then save the STL file. There you go. So there is all the joyous details on all that. So with that, let's wrap up with this reminder that 3D printing is an engineering adventure that you're on. You can develop your skills and knowledge and take this in so many ways. You can make a business out of this. You can teach others. And you can also make amazing designs. So engineer on. Okay, I have been fiddling around with a T-Rex sign. If you wait till the end of this video, at the very end, you will see an OpenScad screenshot. I think the idea looks pretty cool. I think I will do the sign in a fossil bone color versus the yellow color. So expect a video at that at some point in the future.